Trains run on land, some even run on bridges. But what if a train could float on water? The world laughed when they first heard the idea. A train that doesn't run on tracks but floats across rivers and lakes. Not in Japan, not in Dubai, but in Burkina Faso, one of Africa's poorest nations. A dream so wild, so impossible, that even experts called it madness, until one team of engineers decided to make it real. Because this is not just a story about a train, it's a story about a nation rising, about turning rust into hope and scrap metal into a symbol of freedom. In the heart of West Africa, a new idea was born. What if old, broken train coaches could be reborn as floating trains, gliding over rivers, carrying people, crops, and dreams? The plan was bold. Take abandoned railway carriages, place them over large boats or pontoons, and create a train that moves across water. No one believed it could work, but a group of local engineers, welders, and dreamers came together anyway. They called it the Floating Train Project, a symbol that Africa no longer needed to wait for help. The goal? To connect remote villages where bridges and roads never reached, to give farmers, students, and families a safe, affordable way to travel. The first step was finding balance, literally. They built a mini model out of wood and metal to test stability. It tipped over, again and again. Each time, the team adjusted, tested, failed, and tried again. Days turned into nights, nights into weeks, until one morning, it finally worked. The model stayed perfectly still, floating steady on the water. That tiny success sparked a revolution. The engineers began rebuilding full-size train coaches. Rusty steel shells were cleaned and painted. Heavy diesel engines replaced with hybrid motors. Solar panels mounted on rooftops. Comfortable cushioned seats installed inside. Each coach could now carry 60 to 100 passengers. Some were turned into VIP cabins with fans and lights powered entirely by the sun. Safety alarms, life jackets, and emergency exits were all built in. Because this wasn't just about innovation, it was about dignity. Then came the moment of truth. The prototype, a full-size train coach, was gently lowered onto the river. Everyone held their breath. The water rippled. The train swayed slightly. And then it stabilized. Cheers erupted. Tears rolled down weathered faces. Old fishermen raised their hands to the sky and prayed. For the first time, a train floated. And it was Africa that made it happen. This floating train wasn't just a technological wonder. It was a lifeline. Before, farmers had to walk miles carrying heavy sacks of produce. By the time they reached markets, half their goods had spoiled. Now they could sail across rivers quickly, safely, selling fresh crops in cities. Children who once missed school because of flooded roads could now reach classrooms by train boat. Mothers and infants traveled in shaded comfort far from the sun's harsh glare. The project didn't just help passengers. It gave thousands of jobs to local welders, carpenters, mechanics, and fabricators. Abandoned workshops reopened. Small industries revived. Wood, metal, and solar parts became high-demand materials. It wasn't just a project, it was an industrial rebirth. At first, Western media mocked it. A floating train? That's impossible. But when they saw it glide gracefully across the river, they couldn't believe their eyes. Global headlines read, "Africa's engineering miracle. Burkina Faso rewrites the future of transportation." Experts called it the boldest idea since the invention of the hovercraft. Others said it marked a new era of African independence. For the first time, the continent wasn't importing innovation. It was exporting inspiration. But the story didn't end there. The same old train coaches are now being repurposed into schools, clinics, and mobile markets. Engineers turned rusty cabins into floating classrooms for children, mobile hospitals for villages, mini markets for local traders, solar-powered, weatherproof, and full of life. Each coach now tells a new story of rebirth, resilience, and resourcefulness. And so what began as a crazy idea became a symbol of freedom. A train that floats not just on water, but on faith, unity, and courage. If Africa can make a train float, then nothing is impossible. Because sometimes it takes the poorest soil to grow the richest dreams.